to the program. This is News and Views right here on Salam Media. And the first person we're talking with this morning is Moulana Mohammed Tariq. He is the leader of the People's Freedom Party, and they had their manifesto launch last week, Wednesday, if memory serves me correctly. We tried to get hold of him then, but I think he was way too busy with the launch, so was not able to talk with us then. Very pleased that he's on air with us this morning. Assalamu alaikum, Moulana, and welcome to the program.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, your sister, and to the listeners of Salam Media.
All right, a huge week for the Freedom Party, the People's Freedom Party. I should imagine that the manifesto launch was very well attended. What exactly did you roll out at the launch, and how are you going to be different to other political parties? Because we are promised the world when a new party is launched, or come election time, we are as citizens of the country, as voters, potential voters, we are promised the world. And then when it comes to deliverables, the guys are missing in action. What can you promise us, and how are you going to stick with your promises?
Okay, I think firstly, the People's Freedom Party was launched on Thursday.
Oh, was it Thursday?
Last week, and yes, it was the manifesto launch took place on Thursday last week. And one of the key points on the manifesto, I would say at number one, was the upliftment of the poor. And we looked at the current pandemic and the unrest, especially in KZN and other areas, as to what we could do in terms of the upliftment of the poor. And this was our priority in terms of not only helping and feeding people, but also looking at skill development and other empowerment to eradicate poverty in our country itself. So the upliftment of the poor was the first issue that we're speaking about. And I think the people that made the Freedom Party's executives are people that are on the ground, that are already been working with a good history. And you find that's why our slogan also says that by the people, for the people. And yes, the reason why the People's Freedom Party was formed was obviously lack in existence of other parties that are here in service delivery. So in fact, upliftment for the poor was the key on our manifesto, that yes, this is something that we need to deal with, and this is something we need to put system. So we have spoken, if we come into power and we come into control, as to how we would be able to eradicate and help poor in our society.
Inshallah. And obviously we do know that the issue around poverty, healthcare, non-deliverable service deliverables is absolutely key, and employment. We do know that we have unacceptably high levels of crime and corruption in the country, and the only way we can eradicate this is to create employment for our youth. Any thoughts about how you can go about doing that? And undoubtedly, you guys have a huge task on your hands, very especially since we've just come out of those riots in KZN and parts of Gauteng.
I think one of the issues also in our manifesto was about the employment. It also covered the safety and security, but let's deal with the employment. We spoke about employment. We spoke about, yes, the time and time when it comes to voting, that we said that, yes, employment will be available, but once voting is over, there's never employment that is able. Again, we're talking about a system that we can empower the poor to actually do, like a skill development training program, and then we're also be building stuff, making stuff, and also we could allow them to be empowered to get some sort of income. And then we're saying, yes, that should there be such a need in our community that the employment rate is so high, employment rate is so high, but billions of monies have been in corruption and challenged in other ways. How this is possible, and we cannot keep quiet to these type of things here. So we're saying, yes, the employment rate is high. Due to the employment rate is high, you would find that also leads to the crime rate, because people are now in desperate situations. So the employment rate was also dealt with in our manifesto, and we spoke about welfare. To support increase to the old age grant, to work with community forum sector, policing forum, to identify the most needy. Now, we need to find out who is the most needy by working with structures, because sometimes if we're talking about unemployment, people that are unemployed, they're not getting any sort of income, any sort of compensation from the government itself. So how do you deal? It's like likewise NGOs at the moment was actually carrying the work of the government. In many of the humanitarian organizations throughout the country have actually done the work of the government itself. So also the issue on safety and security, as we're speaking about the unrest that has taken place, especially in the KZN area, this has shot the employment rate. Many businesses have closed down. Many malls have been closed down. Many are not even deciding to open because they're unstable as what's going to be the future of South Africa, especially the KwaZulu-Natal area. So we're saying, yes, the safety and security issue is an important issue. And every country is driven by the intelligence. And here, intelligence could not give us advice and say that, listen, this is what we are expecting to do. People should be ready and prepare, or we try to avoid the situation. So yes, KZN, and I would find that to build a social cohesion, I think the government has failed in the social cohesion of parts of bringing things together in terms of a social cohesion and working with all religious leaders and parties together.
It's a huge task. I mean, government hasn't managed to get it right up to now, given the corruption, rampant corruption through all levels of society. How are you at the People's Freedom Party going to tackle this? How are you going to convince me as a potential voter that you are the party that I should vote for, because you are and will be able to deliver on all of these issues that you're talking about, skills development, crime eradication, possible employment opportunities, etc., etc.?
I think what we're saying to everyone is that a chance should be afforded to the People's Freedom Party in terms of that, yes, we want to do a service delivery, and we're out there. As I said, many members of the People's Freedom Party have already been on the ground for years, actually working with these type of things. And we're saying, yes, the corruption issues that you're bringing up, that yes, accountability is the mainstream that we need to understand. Everyone needs to be accountable to the community, and you're actually going to be service delivery to the community. And I'm saying that accountability, we must have a fair and just structure to make sure that even tender processes, maybe all these things are actually dealt with to avoid corruption. We cannot always promote a government or promote a party that where corruption is rife every time. So yes, we need to say yes, that we need to put in a system to say yes, that this system will obviously allow for fair, not something that is left. Like you look at the land claim. There's so many people waiting for the land claim to be finalized. It's just hanging for years, that where people, and the Freedom Party is saying that, yes, People's Freedom Party is saying that land claims should be dealt with compensation. And we must be able to finalize these matters, not leave these matters unattended for 10 to 12 years. So we're saying, yes, we're out there to make the change and make the difference. And the people must know wisely by choosing and giving the count in terms, if they want to stay as we are and make no difference, then how are we going to help? We're asking the people to help by in which way? By making that decision to support the People's Freedom Party so that we make a change.
Inshallah, and we do hope that you are the breath of fresh air, the change that all of South Africa is waiting for with bated breath. We will be watching the space very closely. Shukran very much for your time, and all the very best. We do hope that your party does very well at the polls and that you are able to deliver. Assalamu alaikum to you.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
That was Moulana Mohammed Tariq, leader of People's Freedom Party, and really an interesting manifesto. We will wait and see if they are able to deliver. We hope and pray, inshallah, they are.